Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our next session. This is going to be a Diamond Sponsors session from In Digital. I've got my good friend here, Jennifer Poole, and she's going to be doing a session called Finding a Home and Family in 911. My friend, take it away.
Hey everyone, super excited to be here. Hope everyone's having a great Monday. Nothing like starting our Mondays off with just an amazing day of Beyond Dare to Be Great. I'm so excited to be here and excited to be in a Diamond sponsor within Digital. I'd like to start this presentation off a little bit by talking about some of the things that I've dealt with over my last 21 years and in 911. And I say that, and remember, guys, that means that I started at 12 as a telecommunicator. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here and want to give you a little bit of rundown on talking a little bit about just what we deal with as 911 telecommunicators and just the family that we have and the growth that we have in this industry. And it's come a long way, and especially in my 21 years. But a lot of times, we sit down and we go to these conferences, and then these virtual ones are a little different because we're not side by side, but we're able to have chat, which is amazing. And you get a chance to interact with people all across the world, really. And so it looks like there's 765 people logged in right now, if I have that right. And we get a chance now to just have that conversation, but it's not face to face, and it makes it a little easier for us as telecommunicators. But in a world of 911, we often spend a lot of time dealing with someone's worst day. I can tell you I did it, again, like I said, for 14 years myself, and I'll talk a lot about my career over this next hour. But during that time, we really care about the community and the people that we answer 911 calls for. We pick up that phone, we do everything we've trained to do to make sure that we're providing the best care possible for our communities. But we often look at our others in the industry and wonder, like, how do I talk to that person? I can't travel like them. Maybe I'm not as outgoing, right? Maybe I like this introverted side of being like behind a screen, or I just want to sit in my corner and be with my people, from my 911 center. And it's really important, I think, for our community to come together because trauma brings us together, and no one understands that better than 911. And so, a lot of times, like I said, you'll go to the conferences and you'll do these events, and you don't take this time to really invest in building those relationships, because while we'll sit through these sessions and have these conversations, and events like this one give us an opportunity to come together, but it's really about learning, and it's about growing and guiding each other in this very thankless career that we call 911. We like I said, we spend a lot of time with trauma, so it's important to make sure that we're smiling and we're doing things that are important to build our family. And so that kind of dives me into a little bit about why am I talking about this? What does this mean to me? And why is it so important to me? Like I said, I started out at 12. Just kidding, I'll do reverse that and say 21. I started out at 21 years old as a 911 telecommunicator. I remember I had a friend and he said, go be a 911 dispatcher. And I thought, well, what does that mean? Like, be a 911 dispatcher. And so I didn't understand. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I walked in door at several PSAPs, applied. My local county decided to give me a shot. It was Seminole County, Florida. For a lot of you on here, I see know me, but if you don't, I'm from Seminole County, Florida, which is just outside of Disney World. That's just outside of Orange County. I currently reside in Volusia County, Florida today. And I spent 14 years in that 911 center. 14 years with 10 different managers, which, if anyone knows, has been through a lot of management changes. That is a very impactful experience. And that creates a lot of animosity, a lot of dark situations, I think, in 911 centers. We sit in our little cubicles, we don't necessarily become a family. And so during my 14 years there, I had a chance to run a 12-man shift, but I also had a chance to interact with my 911 shifts and build a family and a team. And that was really important to me. But I was having a lot of time struggling with just the dark side of it, right? The dark side of maybe that this person doesn't like me, or that person doesn't want to talk to me, or things like that. And so I got to spend my last 14th year going to my very first conference. So I got to go to a local conference in Orlando. It was a national conference. And I had a chance to go to my very first one after 14 years and being in a 911 center. And I got to meet some amazing people that were telling me that they are going through the same things. That same, dark side of 911, where we're saving lives and we're on the phone, we're doing everything we can, but we hang up the phone and we're not supporting each other. And so during that time, I went to my very first conference, and I remember walking around and talking to people, and we're trying to talk to people, and I saw all these groups of telecommunicators just kind of sitting together with the same shirts, right? So you got your Seminole County people, your whatever county people over here, and then you go to the breakfasts and all these different things, and they're all sitting together. And I was alone. I didn't have anyone else from the conference with me. There was no other telecommunicators, there was no other supervisors. It was just me. And so I thought to myself, like, they're not going to want to sit with me. Like, how do I talk to these people? And I felt very alone at a conference that I shouldn't have felt very alone at. And so during that time, I kind of thought to myself, well, I want to do sessions and conferences that mean a lot to me and bringing it all back to a family. And so I got a chance to meet a bunch of people. Like I said, I wanted to sit for the EMP after that conference, which if you don't know what that is, that's the emergency number professional, which there's a lot of people on here I know that are EMPs today. At that time, I wanted to go to a conference out of St. Pete. And I went to my 911 director and I asked if I could go, and they said, no, we don't have the funding, you can't go. And at that point, I looked around and I thought, well, went home and really dug deep and said, well, I'm going to pay my own way, and took some PTO and went. And during that time, when I got a chance, I met some of the other 911 coordinators across the state of Florida. That's what we call them here that serve our community. And they were like, wait, you're here by yourself? You paid your own way? And I had some people that introduced me to some other people, and it just kept catapulting into where I am today. But with that said, I've made a chance and a goal for myself that if I'm ever at a conference, I'm ever there, and I see people standing by themselves or alone, I make sure that I'm inviting, I smile, I go do that, even if I'm not, right? Like for instance, I haven't had coffee this morning and I'm smiling, which is, if anyone knows me and knows my background, I drink a lot of coffee. So I make sure that I'm that person. I'm that one that they can come to and ask questions, or at least have a buddy to sit next to and have lunch, because it's really hard, again, for our community to come out of our shell because of the calls that we deal with. And one of my favorite things about Ricardo is what he does is presentations, and you're talking about the good and the funny, and then some of the sad stuff. And during that, you get a chance to really hear what we go through. And I think that we're the only type of people that can understand that. And so it's important that we come together as a family and have that connection, because in our community, without each other, we're really alone, because no one understands. You can't, no one, I like to say that you can't take a 911 call, hang up, and have that discussion with anyone else but your 911 family, because we're the only ones that do understand what happened during that call and can relate to each other. But a lot of people will ask me too, like, Jen, what keeps you going? Like, why do you keep doing this? And I like to make sure that you understand there's a big reason to 911, but we have to find our why, right? We know why we're answering the phone, right? It's our job, right? It brings home the paycheck. It's our career, right? We are life-saving people every single day. We're saving lives 24 hours a day. We are the first responder. I know we say that a lot, but I think it's important when you're taking these 911 calls and you're in these situations that you always try to find your why. And it sounds so cliche and so simple. But for me, I'm a single mother, have been a single mother for quite some time, to a beautiful 16-year-old girl. That's her on the left-hand side as a baby. She's very sweet. She was born 2 pounds, 11 ounces. So she was super early. She came into this world. And yes, Dan, I see Dan's coming. Stan's my mini-me. She's definitely my mini-me. So if you ever get a chance to meet her, bring her to conferences a lot. She knows mom's busy, but she also understands what we do as a community, which is amazing, I think, for a 16-year-old. She tells a lot of people about 911, and then also now, like next gen 911, all the things we're doing here digital. But she's the reason I get up every single day. And she was the reason that I stayed for 14 years in my 911 center, taking 911 calls and doing what's right for our community. And so, one of the things I would suggest to you is, as you're, spending your time in your career, and maybe you're having a really bad day, you've taken a really bad call, and you got off that phone and it didn't end the way you wanted it to end, because we've all been there. I know myself has been there. There are calls today that I still ring through my brain. Could I have done it a little differently? But without our why in our community, it's very hard to bring ourselves out of that. So I find that really important. So if you don't know what your why is today, if you don't know why you're sitting in that 911 seat, or you're in the position that you're in, ask yourself that. And like I said, for me, it is to show that example for my daughter, that no matter what you do, you can put your whole heart into it. You can be the best you can. I added this one in last minute, this slide to talk to you a little bit about my family as well, because I think that's really important. I did this presentation recently at a live conference, and I got a chance to joke, and you guys are on here, you can comment back. The picture on the left-hand side of my dad in the chair with me and my sister, I'm a twin. I come from a family of 5. I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me. My dad is wearing clothes in that picture, so you can all laugh about that. He used to like to wear tiny, tiny shorts, and I put that on there, so I always think that's funny. But this is my father. He actually worked for Seminole County as well. He was a truck driver. Um, Last Friday, bear with me so I don't cry, would have been his 74th birthday. And so he always instilled in me to just do your best. It's not always what we want, right? Like we may be you may be in a position where you're sitting in your 911 center and you're going, man, this is not the career for me. I didn't want to do this, or I don't like this shift. All these different things that we go through. Um, just remember that we are here for a reason. You wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't for you for that. And my father used to say that a lot. Um, Unfortunately, he passed away at 69, and my mom had to make a 911 call. And at the time, that state that my parents were living in did not provide CPR. So if any of you are thinking just like me, to talk about family and finding connecting in the community and 911, we're all here for a purpose, right? And now, if you look back in a lot of our states across the U.S., we are providing CPR, but there's still some locations that are not. And like I said, during that time, that state is now providing CPR instructions. My mom made a 911 call from her vehicle, and my dad was not able to be resuscitated. My mom had no instructions. And so that's something that sticks with me. When we think about our community of 911 people and the calls that we take and how they stick with us, right? This call sticks with me, and I didn't even take it. Obviously, it was very close and home. It was my father. But these are my why. I will continue every single day to ensure that I'm delivering a 911 call. I'm doing everything we can, and it's one of the reasons why I get a chance to work for Digital today. All we do is 911. And so that was really important to me to make sure I'm delivering the message that is important, that we continue to grow our community in so many ways. And like I said, whether that's you having a conversation, having a coffee with someone, having a great day, whatever that is, you're here to do that. So again, like I said, together we're stronger. We can't do this alone. We need a community of people that can come together and outside of just that phone call, outside of that radio transmission. We are just that. We are a professional group of people that need each other. And I think when you're going through this as a 911 telecommunicator, where you're in your first year and you're really new, and they're calling you a newbie, and they're saying you're the trainee and all these different things, and maybe you don't feel included. There's so much opportunity for you out there in the virtual world, in the conference world, and just the community on social media that we have. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But this doesn't have to stop today. This conference is going to go on for the next 2 days, but it's going to be amazing connection time for you to meet someone that may be going through the same things as you. And so a love for our care and compassion, it just doesn't have to stop with the phone. It really doesn't. I remember a lot of times where I would put on my phone voice. So as a little girl, I grew up, my mom she'd be screaming. I swear she'd be hitting me with a little belt. Don't call it teachers, but like my mom would be very upset. But as soon as that phone rang, and back then we had landlines, kids, but my mom would pick up the receiver off the wall and she'd be like, hello. And I'm like, what? She was just screaming and yelling at me. And if you think about that, I think I like to use that as like a metaphor of who we are as telecommunicators. We could be sitting next to somebody we don't really care for, right? Maybe we're on an overtime shift, and this shift and I don't get along, or whatever that may be. I'm just having a bad day, something happened at home, and my tone. But as soon as I pick up that call, we care for that community, and our tone changes. But again, like I said, I learned that a long time ago as a small girl. So a lot of times I get this, and the last conference I was in Missouri, and I had some people that I got a chance to connect with afterwards, and they said, "Well, Jen, I don't have a chance to do that. I don't get a chance to go places and see people maybe as often as you do," and I completely understand that. But I am a big proponent in making sure that we do things locally. Like I'm happen to be in Georgia right now. It's these are smaller communities, then these telecommunicators may not have the funding and opportunity to go to national conferences. Even their local ones may be difficult for them because maybe they're several hours away. But that doesn't mean that you can't build that community. It's really, really important that as 911 telecommunicators, that we do that. And so Some of the tips that I like to tell people is virtually is the easiest way. Doesn't it just starts with today. So if this is your first virtual experience, great. You're going to take this and you're going to run with it. And so, like social media, Facebook, Instagram, all those different things, you have an opportunity to create groups and events and things that you can do for your community. Like I always tell people, coffee hours, right? So if I was still in a 911 center, one of the things, and I should be doing this today in my community as well, but one of the things I would love to do is create that monthly coffee hour for 911, right? Bring in your surrounding neighbors. In a live version, I tell people a lot of times, like when I'm looking at you, you're sitting in these little groups again, like your county's over here, your county's over here, and they're all sitting in their own groups. But then I realized that some of these counties touch each other at these state conferences, right? And so they've never even met. A lot of times, what do we do when we take a 911 call and we realize it's not in our county? We dump it on our neighbor county. We say we blind transfer is what I like to say we do. Maybe you wouldn't blind transfer if you knew those people a little better. Maybe you would have a better community to be able to have those calls and radio interactions and transferring calls and getting data back and forth from each other. If you had a chance to actually know that person and know what they're going through and maybe understand their policies and procedures may be a little different than yours. And so when you transfer that call, they may be asking you this question. They're always like, gosh, God, they sound so dumb. Why are they asking me this question? Well, maybe that's their policy, and you just haven't taken the time to understand that and meet your community. And so virtually is a great way to do that. Now, I always tell people be mindful of your counties if they allow you to use your county logos and things like that. But if you can't use your county logo, it doesn't mean you can't be you, right? You can't be Jen on Facebook as a 911 telecommunicator, putting out there to say, hey, let's meet up for coffee. Let's have a after hours event or things like that. And people like me would show up. We'd love to be a part of it and help you make that community yourself. Um, in person, like I said, is an amazing way like to do that. Local events is the biggest thing. I'm a big supporter. I'm here in Georgia now, Cherokee County, Georgia. I don't know if anybody from Cherokee's on, but Cherokee County, Georgia actually has a 911 non-for-profit. They can support their 911 community, and they do a lot of things for reach out for 911. So maybe that's something you want to look at for your county. I'm sure those guys would love to give you an opportunity of time to say how they started it, but it's a great opportunity to let your citizens know who you are, but also give you that outlet of something besides the console, something besides that dark room. So again, I kind of mentioned this a couple times. This is one of my favorite quotes, and one of the things that I always like to talk about because, again, this is going to sound horrible, but I know this is recorded and that's okay, but you guys know who we are. And I've been on a lot of Ricardo sessions, so I think it's okay that I say some inappropriate things sometimes. But we as a 911 community, we're very dark, right? We think a lot of crazy things. I can tell you, I tease all the time about people saying, maybe you're having a bad day or that person pulled out in front of you and you think horrible things. You're like, oh, I'd like to smash them into the wall or something, right? Like that's not normal. But us as 911 people, that's just how we think, right? It's just normal because this is our daily life, taking 911 calls of tragic events, of fightings and traffic accidents, all these things, right? That we have to hang up the phone and act like normal people. Call us normal. But we are the only people that we can communicate and talk nonsense with. And so, like this is, tis the privilege of friendship to talk nonsense and have that nonsense respected. I can tell you that very much today, I have a huge community out there from all over the different states, now one community, but also professionals in the industry partners. And I have no problem sending them a text or having a conversation of something that maybe we shouldn't be talking about. But that's okay because that is our outlet. That's who we are as 911 community. And we need to make sure that we have that. And if you don't have that today, I want to be that for you. There's a community of people out there. And if I don't know someone in your state, then I'll find someone that does, that can be your friend and be that person to talk that nonsense with. So one of the things I always tell two people is don't be this. I don't use a lot of words on my slide deck, so I think it's important for you to have a conversation. It's a little more difficult in this spot with the chat group, but don't be these people when you're out in public and you're out in that conference, because it's really, really important that we want people to sit with us, right? You can sit with me, make that 911 community part of that home, part of that feeling of friendship and love, because and I know like I said, I was in this session in Missouri. There's a couple things that happened during that session. There was a young lady at the front, and I don't remember life in what county she was from, but she wasn't smiling the whole time. And when I played this slide, I thought to her, I said to her, like, don't be this person, right? Because sometimes I get that we don't all smile, we don't all experience and are as vocal as everyone else, and that makes us unique. I mean, we don't all want to be the same person. We don't all want to wear pink on Wednesday, right? I keep quoting this movie, but um, you want to make sure that you are smiling and you are someone that people can sit down and have a conversation with, because you never know what you're going to learn from that person, and also you just never know what that person is going through. So again, this happened to me. I will tell you. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on the session on the side, but have you ever been to a conference and seen that group? Because there's this group of people, and you're like, oh, I think I'll go over here and have breakfast, right? Like you go. Have you ever been to the breakfasts are the worst, right? This sounds horrible, but the breakfasts are the hardest part. I think it's the very first thing, right? So there's all these tables that are usually round, and then you're like, okay, well, where am I going to sit? I'll sit over here. No, I'll sit over. Do I know anyone over there? No, I don't know anyone. Oh wait, they don't look so nice. Like maybe I won't sit there. Maybe I'll sit here. Um, yeah, and it's interesting dynamic because again, we're only in our little clique, right? We're being these girls and these guys, and it's not intentional. It's just who we are. We're in our family. Somebody said instantly transported back to elementary school. Yes, 100%. I mean, even high school today. And like I said, I'm raising a 16-year-old girl. If you guys have teenage kids or even kids in middle school and elementary school, you completely understand. It is a very difficult world out there. And for our community to do that, I don't think it's intentional. I just think it's a shift in mental status that we need to say, hey, you know what? I'm here to learn and engage. I love my peeps. I'm going to see them every 12 hours, 10 hours. But today I'm going to sit over here next to this person that I don't know. And they don't have to be smiling, but maybe after you're done talking to them, they might smile. The girl in the front row, she was definitely smiling after I had an opportunity to call her out a little bit at the end of my session. So again, just and I always suggest too in group sessions like in these, like if you're in these chat groups, I love everyone that's commenting. Thank you guys so much. It's really, really important to connect with people, like send the messages out, or if you're in a conference or at a session, just sit next to somebody you don't know. Pick a different row, sit up front. Meet the speaker. We're people just like you. We want to have a conversation. We want you to learn and grow as well. So I'll also tell you too, a lot of people joke around like, Jen, how is that possible? Because I am so bubbly. Sometimes I try to be like, I like to think I'm like a little rabbit running around. If anyone's ever met Jenny Mason, she has a little dog named Gizmo. She works for CCS. She was one of the very first people I met when I got into the sales profession of 911 many years ago at a conference in Connecticut. And I got there an extra day late. And she's always smiling as well. If you've met her, the story goes that I was there, a day extra, not a day late. And I remember walking around, and I've been there for 2 days, didn't really get a chance to meet a lot of people, didn't feel as welcome as I try to make myself feel today, and as I'm trying to explain to you guys to do. And here's this little blonde woman walking around with this little dog. And yes, Dominic Jenny, yeah. And she was like, hey, you want to go shopping? You want to walk around? Want to get lunch? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I would love that. And to this day, we became very good friends. But more than that, she's provided mentorship, a thoughtful process in some of my actions and things. And I've grown so much just being her friend in this community. So I would tell you, in my past life prior to that time, I probably would have just said, nah, I'm no good. I'll just go to my room. I'll go grab lunch by myself, things like that. So it's really, really, really important that we figure out how to do this, right? And like I said, this is going to look different for everyone, but for me, it's just that smile, right? If I stand there, smile, walk around, say hi. I'm a big proponent at these conferences, a little different virtually, but if you're at a conference and they've got a name tag, call them by their first name. Then they already think you're friends. Giving away my secrets, but it's really, really important to do that. And so some of the things I like to talk about is just go where the community's at. And that's may not be as easy for you, but there are things to do that. So if you're in a situation where there's not funding available, or maybe you haven't been selected because maybe you went last time, but you want to go, you were like, oh, this one's in California or Baltimore, wherever they're coming for 2025. You're thinking to yourself, like, how am I going to get there? Or I can't go there. Um, there are scholarship opportunities, and I have several links. I saved them. So at the end of this, I'm going to make sure that you have my, my email and my telephone number. Send me a text. Um, please reach out because there are so many scholarship opportunities for you to go to these national conferences. You can be a speaker at these national conferences. I'll help you. We can put presentations together or review your slides, whatever that is. But it's really important to go where the community is at. And that also means your local community. Like I mentioned earlier, build that community for yourself. And so some of the other things is just be a friend to yourself. So that's, I think, the hardest thing I think I had to learn over my 21 years in 911. And I will tell you, at 21 years old, when I first got into the 911 center, um, I thought I was the king. I knew everything. Well, we knew everything at 21 anyways, now here you sit. But um, I was a little bit more too friendly to myself then than I am today. But be a friend to yourself. It's really important. We're going to make mistakes. You're going to put in a bad address. You're going to, you're not going to, for, get the county. You're not going to do these different things that maybe are important to you or that you're striving to do. Things are going to happen. Without failure, we don't get better, we don't get stronger, we don't learn. And so it's really important to be a friend to yourself and just don't put yourself down. Don't do what I did that very first conference and walk around going, nobody wants to be my friend, I'm not cool like them. I can't talk to anyone. And I know that's difficult, but you have to remind yourself, look at yourself in the morning and the day and say, I'm going to be amazing today. I'm going to make friends. It's going to be a great day. Just remember that. It's really important. I know that sounds so basic, but I think it's something we have to remind ourselves. I've said this a few times, and like I said, I already mentioned Jenny and her smiling face, and it's really important. But be cheerful, smile, and don't always wait for someone to speak first. I think that's one of our biggest things in 911 that I think I see all across conferences and events that I go to. It sounds so simple, but and I'm the worst because if you get next to me, I won't be speaking. Okay, just gonna put that out there. I'm gonna be speaking to you. Don't get next to me on a bus either, because like traveling to an event, because then I'll really speak to you the whole time. It might be a long bus ride, but don't wait for someone to speak first. And I think we do that, right? Because we take 911 calls. So we say 911, what's the address of your emergency? We're waiting for a response, and that is just our trained behavior. Someone's gonna talk to me, I'm gonna give an answer. Someone's gonna do this, I'm gonna say that. And so when we get in these environments, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to walk up and say, hey, where are you from? What do you do? What county do you work for? It's okay to ask, like, hey, man, I took a really bad call. This and this happened. Have you ever taken a call like that? Things like that that maybe you'll grow from. So don't wait for that. Like if it wasn't for Jenny walking up to me that day with Gizmo asking, hey, you want to go shopping? I probably would have never talked to her. And so now I can tell you that I've grown from that. I've learned from that. And I've made the decision to say that I'm going to be speaking first. So just be warned if you're around me at a conference, because we don't stand next to me unless you want to be talked to. But yeah, there's just simple things, like I said, to be friends in 911. Yes, I definitely, yes. Roxy's saying that we would have made, yes, I don't, and I tried to hug Roxy a lot too. Roxy's commenting saying she would have made you talk to her. Yes. Both me and Jenny would do that. So, like I said, there's so many resources. We're in this together, for us to be able to connect with that and do different things. But I like to say too that that in this community, it doesn't stop with just this, right? It doesn't stop with our virtual conferences. It doesn't stop with our persons in meeting. Like there's just two, like I said, there's two national conferences, Baltimore and California for APCO and NINA this year. Hope to see you there. There's so many scholarship opportunities. APCO call for papers is still open, guys. So if you have not put in for the APCO call for papers and you're thinking about, well, I can't do this, I can't have that conversation with people or do presentations, please reach out to me. We'll work on that. But it's really important, I think, that we use all these available resources to us. I've just named just a small few here. I'm a big proponent of Within the Trenches, obviously, with Ricardo on the Dare to Be Great. It's amazing. He's a friend. He's on social media. He probably gets a lot of messages every day, but I'm sure he'd be willing to have a conversation with you if you needed it. We are all here for you. And so, hey, Joyce, there's so many things that you can do. There are groups out there. There are some like those 911 girls. That is Erica and Yasmin out of Florida. They created a Facebook group and some other groups that you can get online and get resources for. So those scholarship opportunities, like I mentioned. I will tell you, like, I paid my own way for my emergency number professional years later. After, like I said, I paid my own way to do that, but don't do that. There are scholarships out there, essays you can write, recommendations. There's so many community out there that we can help you do that. And if, like I said, if it's not me and I can't do that for you, I'll find someone, or I'm sure I know someone that can. But things there's like the 911 Wonder Woman conference is coming up here in Indiana. It's going to have our very first conference in 2025. That's really exciting. Somebody just mentioned, yeah, Tracy Eldridge. I got the amazing pleasure to work with Tracy Eldridge at Rapid SOS, and now she has her own podcast and events. She goes out teaching, but she tells you a lot about her story, right? And so get a chance to talk about her story and what she's gone through as a 911 telecommunicator, but also just that community that she builds, right? She does an EMP study group. So if you haven't set for your EMP, I highly suggest checking with Tracy. There's so many resources, guys, for you to have that opportunity to be able to get out there. So I don't want to hear the excuses of I can't do it, my county won't let me. We can figure this out, and I promise you that there's an opportunity out there for you to do that. So with all of that said, like it's really, really important. And if there's something I missed a few on here, please shout them out in the chat. Let people know what other resources are on here, because there are so many opportunities. And I think every state and local and county have different opportunities for you to do that as well. Um, we spend, like I said, a lot of time online. Like we all carry around phones, right? We have social media, we have Facebook, all these different things. Check your Facebook, create a Facebook group. Maybe if you haven't found the 911 Wonder Woman Facebook page, I highly suggest it. It's for men and women, but it is an amazing opportunity. I think there's thousands and thousands of people on there. I like to see the posts in the morning. I think for me, that's a big thing. You can also post on there anonymous. So that allows, like, if maybe you're going through a bad day, you've had a crazy shift, right? And believe me, I've had my share of crazy shifts. And you just don't know what to do. You're like, man, I've got this employee. I'm not sure what to do with him or her. But you can maybe post a comment on there. Has anyone been through this situation? And that gives you an opportunity to have those resources at your fingertips every single day. Again, there's so much opportunity out there for you. So don't walk away from this conference thinking like, oh, well, that was fun. Now what's next? Make sure that you are building what's next. You know what's coming next. And so like it's like the words say, dare to be great. I take that really, really seriously. I love the title of this conference. It's been Ricardo and I are great friends. He was one of the very first people I met as well when I first got into my sales career when I worked for APCO International. And I was super excited to meet him. And at the time, he actually worked for Digital, which I think is kind of reversal roles. But he was a great proponent and a friend of mine. So I always tell people, like, don't be shy. Make sure that you introduce and talk to people, even if you see that person like and you're like, oh, they're not going to talk to me, like Roxanne Van Gundy's on here. I know she's chatting, but Roxy looks, like maybe she doesn't want to hug, but I guarantee you maybe she does. She's going to laugh at me for saying that. But definitely make sure that you're reaching out to your community and talking with them daily. I think I'm a little early, Ricardo, but I thought I could open it up for questions. I know there's a lot of comments coming through, and I'm trying to read them as they come in. But really, really, like I said, wanted to take this time to just have a conversation if there's any available, or anybody has anything they want to say or ask me questions about my career and where it led me today and all those things. Roxy says no hugging. She says she'll help cheer for you, love. But yes, only certain people get hugs from Roxy. She knows that.
All right. Well done, my friend. I love that picture that you have there.
Yeah, that's an older one. We need a new one.
I know, yeah, and you know what? We have a couple of them. Maybe we just haven't shared them with each other
That's very true. We probably haven't. We haven't. I think I forgot to mention too. Obviously, this is my email and my telephone number. I do answer texts. A lot easier. Emails sometimes get twisted when I'm traveling. I happen to be in Georgia today. But please, if you have any questions, it doesn't matter what it is. Reach out. Like I said, I'll be your friend. We'll be that support for you and build that family that you need at 911.
Excellent. Again, thank you so very much, and I think back to, oh, man, when was it 2016? Maybe at
Yes.
the Indiana conference?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cold.
you were there and, we took, pictures and such. I remember exactly where your booth and everything was set up. And,
Yes.
we were talking about things and, yeah, it was just, like, right off the bat, you're like, "Oh, I'm working over here now, I've gotten off of this," and from that time, I've seen you as well evolve and do everything that you say that you've been doing, and, but it's interesting when you first get out there, right? When you are in dispatch and then you end up going out into, like, conferences or classes or whatever, and you realize, "Oh, there's a lot more."
100%. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I think when I went to that first national conference and I sat down and I remember I asked a question and I remember someone saying, "Oh, you," and I'd only been doing it for 14 years at that time. Like, "Oh, you haven't been doing this long enough to be asking those kind of questions." And I thought, well, that's not very nice. But then I met a woman afterwards, and she was like, "No, don't listen to people that say those things." I think it is so difficult to put yourself out there, but at the same time, the growth that you get from that is irreplaceable. It's something that you cannot get in any other fashion. And we need that to continue to do our jobs and be the professionals that we are. We need that community.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because a lot of times in places where I've been or people that I've spoken to, there are a lot of people who feel alone, and, it's like, "No, there's a lot of us here. We just gotta reach out," or, just when someone is approaching you to say hello, don't like, don't
don't
immediately
run,
be
don't
like,
run.
start running.
Don't sit in the bathroom.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, exactly, take advantage, if you can, if possible, the time that you're there, and, because like, for me, in the beginning, I didn't know anything about, any of the organizations, that mu like, because the center that I was at, we really didn't talk about it, like, we knew of the names, but, like, my first one, it was 2013, Michigan NINA, I spoke there for the very first time, never once thought like, "No, I'm not gonna be a public speaker. I'm not that's not me. I don't know that I can really do that," and, well, I've been doing it for over a decade now, so but,
It,
that right off the bat, then going to the national conference in 2013, it was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and walking around there and just seeing how enormous it was, because I didn't even know that there was a mothership. I didn't know that there was a national NINA. I just thought all of the states had their own separate chapters of either NINA or APCO. So then
right.
I get there and it's massive, and my eyes were just like popping out the whole week. But it was, I came back re-energized for everything that was going to be coming up.
You do, and like conferences like this one too, like that you're going to putting on for everyone. It just you literally walk away with a renewed sense of your career and a new sense of passion. And I think they're so important. And I think the hardest part is we don't have them all that often, right?
Mhm.
And so just making sure that you find that connection and that time in between to continue harvesting, that's renewed sense of joy and that renewed sense of why. Like I talked about in the beginning, like your why, like because with if you don't have that, it's a I mean, no one needs me to tell them. All these people on this, there's 777 people right now, know that this is a dark profession, right? And so you need to find that light and that joy to make sure that you continue to do and serve a community and be the best that you can be. And so we have to figure out ways to do that for sure.
How did it
And for
make you
me, it's texting you and Jenny and all those people and a couple people, Joyce on here.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always a good feeling, right? And, but in the beginning, I know you kinda mentioned this already, but when you first started putting yourself out there, and then after, like, how did that feel for you? It's just like a wow. Sometimes
Yeah.
that's the response, right? It's like, "Wow, I did that."
Yeah, exactly. You walk away going, "Wow." Somebody always talks about the imposter syndrome, and I know Brandy Powell from Prepared and is going to be on here too, and she talks a lot about that. And me and her have talked about that personally. But you walk away going, "Wait, do those people really care what I had to say? Why does that matter, right?" And I think that's just innate. We want to be that person that is more humble, but also to walk away going, "Wow," people feel the same way I do. Like this makes sense,
Mhm.
that I'm not alone in this world, right? That you're not alone in taking these 911 calls. You're not alone in the radio traffic that you listen to and handle. There's a world of community out there that wants to hear your story and wants to help you.
For sure. And I love that you tell people, to kind of expand their group. if they're with a group there, because you see it all the time. You can
Oh,
tell, and not that I'm not saying don't hang out with your group. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that
you know what you're saying
expand
regardless.
your yeah, expand yourself, because there's a lot of people out there that you might end up just talking to randomly, and you think, "Oh, we had a lot in common. Like, you're going through some of the same stuff that I'm going through." And that's how you start building those connections and that the networking. And sometimes those connections come full circle, and you end up seeing that same person later on or in a different place, and you're like, there was a reason that I met
Right.
this person, and it
Mhm.
ends up making sense.
It does, and I think that my funniest thing is, like, obviously our logos, right? So the shirts on you go to these conferences and it's all the same county and city, right? And they're all because they're all wearing the same shirt or the same sweatshirt. They're just like walking around in their little groups, and I'm the worst at it. I will literally go and sit right in between them, and I call them out in my presentations. And and I don't know, it's well received. I know it is, but I think it's really, really important. Like Ricardo said, it's not like Ricardo. You don't want to. You don't. I'm not saying don't hang out with them. But you have plenty of time to hang out with them, like in the after hours, right, for your dinners and all these different things. During the
Right.
conference, during the breakfasts and the lunches and the sessions, sit with somebody you don't know. That's all. It's that simple.
Mhm.
And talk to them first, because you may sit down with them and they're gonna, why is this chick sitting next to me?
Right.
Um, but tell them, like, hey, I'm here to make friends and learn and grow. I work for this county. What do you do? Like, ask questions. It's just as simple as asking one question, and it leads to a whole conversation and a world of friendships. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes. No, I love that. And looking at the comments over here, really quick before we wrap up, Tina says, "Thank you for this presentation. For someone who is the quieter person until someone speaks to me, but has huge goals, I will challenge myself to speak up first." So,
Yeah,
yeah, well
yeah.
done. Very nice. Dan says, "Most conferences have new attendee events. These are invaluable. Lets you know you're not alone." There you go. That as well. That is, those go on as well. And oh, so here's a question. Let me pull this up here. And it says, "Hi, all. Recently found out that Montana Law Enforcement Academy is using a call I took as part of its training program as a call with good documentation. Had no idea they were using it. Curious if anyone has had that happen. I was not sure what to think, but it's beginning to grow on me."
Oh, awesome. Montana. I spent a lot of time in Montana. Anybody that knows me knows I spent a lot of time in Montana. I'm not sure who was asking that question, but that's not a. I think Ricardo can answer it too, but I think that's great. I think one of the things to remember, and I know this is just common knowledge, but is everything we do is recorded, right? So it can be used in either way. So I'm not sure on the question if you're saying that, like, are you excited about it, or are you happy that it's being used? I mean, I think hopefully it's being used in a good way, right? Did you read that way, like Ricardo, like that? But a lot of
Yeah.
my calls were used. I think a lot of them were on the news, right? I took a bear attack once. I took a drowning one time. I mean, a lot of things were on the news, and a lot of things are used in training situations. And maybe some of my calls were used for, when I was brand new, I put a lot of bad addresses, and a lot of people said, don't answer the call like this. Um, but yeah, that's amazing. I think that if your call's being used and your voice is being heard for people to learn, wow, good for you. That just goes to
Mhm.
show that you are doing right. You've done what you've been trained to do. You're in a career for a reason. And so I would say maybe take that and use it in the future. Maybe that means that you're in something that you should be doing more of, right? Maybe you should get involved in training. Maybe that particular call or that incident should be something that you focus on and do a class on, right? Put your own worksheet on PowerPoint together and talk about that call and those incidents and how you took that call and how you handled it, because clearly whatever that call was, it's something that people need to learn and train on.
Excellent. Let me go back over
Let me see.
here. Yeah, so Jason says it's being used in a good way. I just didn't know until a trainee came back to the center and said it was being used.
Uh,
Yeah, that's that's hard sometimes, right? Because especially if you don't know and you're like, in what way? Like, I would want to know, I would want to know how it was being used, of course.
yeah.
But I do like how you put in there, Jason, that it is growing on you, and I agree, Jen, that Maybe this is sometimes things happen and you realize, like, as things evolve, like, well, maybe this is something I should be doing is, going more towards kind of like a training side, as well. So
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I
that's
mean,
good
like,
then.
whatever that call was, ask your, management to listen back to it and maybe dive into, how do you teach everyone else yourself? Like, maybe you could put a presentation together and put in for APCO Baltimore. Conference papers are still open. Maybe you can do a session on that, and how you took that call and train other people because if maybe the people in Montana need to know, maybe everyone else needs to know as well.
Boom. There you go. All right. We've got some other comments that are coming in here. And let's see, fully understand everything regarding the call is public record. Communication is hard. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, yes, communication
Yeah.
is hard, especially, with all of us, we're masters of communication, but sometimes communicating with each other, it's not there, but, I mean, it can all start to evolve at conferences as well, or different trainings, or even meetings or such. It just takes that little bit of,
Mhm.
communication.
Definitely. Yeah.
So thank you very, very much. This has been excellent, and it's always a pleasure to have you on with anything that I do. It has always been fun since the beginning of our friendship. It has been really, really cool. And thank you again to InDigital for being a diamond sponsor. And you have another presentation that's going to be coming up where you're at, right? Here in about an hour.
Well, yes. Well, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm joining a presentation, so hopefully I don't have
Oh,
to do
okay.
much speaking. But yes,
Well,
yes, in about
awesome.
an
Okay.
hour.
Well,
Yeah.
excellent. For everyone who is watching and listening, the next session is going to be with April Heinze. She's the VP, Chief of Operations with National Nina, and she's going to be doing our opening keynote. And her session is called Serve with Pride and Lead with Confidence. I will bring you all over there, and that starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So we will see you all here shortly.
Thank you, everyone.